It's another edition of Time About the Movies. Today we're taking a look at the films of August 9th, 2002. We got 4 movies to look at today, so we have a lot to get to, so let's just go ahead and jump on into it. We'll start off with the biggest new release of the weekend, and that's Vin Diesel's follow-up to The Fast and Furious, with the same director, Rob Cohen, behind the scenes. This is Triple X.
You're Triple X. Unless you please go on a mission. How long have you been a secret agent? 2 days? Oh no, it's not. Wow, the fate of the world. 22 minutes to evacuate 1 million people. It comes down to one man. Brain just a small. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. I run for this!
When Sony basically decided that they wanted to be the cool James Bond, because, you know, James Bond was just too old and not hip enough to the kids, because we need this one here to be for the MTV generation, even though the MTV generation pretty much grew up at this point. But yeah, this is a movie where you have Vin Diesel as Xander Cage, a thrill-seeking extreme sports enthusiast, stuntman, and rebellious athlete-turned-reluctant spy for the NSA. Cage is sent on a dangerous mission to infiltrate a group of potential Russian terrorists in Central Europe. You also have Samuel L. Jackson here, Asia Argento, and yeah, kind of like what I said before. This was a movie that was clearly trying to, you know, this was clearly trying to be made for a new, younger generation who were growing tired of the James Bond movies, which, I don't know, the James Bond movies were still doing pretty good up until, you know, Die Another Day came out a couple months later, but we'll eventually get to that one. But, like, you could tell right from the get-go, like, as soon as the movie begins, it starts off with a pale James Bond impersonation. Like, the movie's clearly trying to tell you, this ain't a James Bond movie, this is for the extreme, this is an extreme movie, you know, like, and it's all over this film. And, you know, The Fast and Furious had that extreme edge to it, but you know what? There was at least something to it. There was at least a story going on with that film overall that you kept getting invested in. Even though it was pretty much Point Break, but with more extremeness to it. Like, this is pathetic what they do here with this movie. I mean, there is not a lot of fun in this movie, and a lot of this stuff here is really, really dated. Vin Diesel, he's doing the best he can with the stuff given to him. I mean, I guess he's fine in the movie, but then again, this is just a movie that's clearly trying to market itself as this new wannabe James Bond franchise, but with an attitude for the people that watched MTV. But like I said, even MTV was getting to that point where the thing that made them the cool, edgy channel of the 1990s was slowly but surely starting to go away, starting within 2002. So, yeah, they were kind of already losing on that mark there. And it just goes to show you that Rob Cohen, the director of this, who has been directing for a long time, and even was directing for a long time, ever since Triple X came out, he's trying so hard to stay young and relevant, because this is not the last time he would try to make a hip, young movie for an audience that's clearly more than maybe 3 times his age, because he would follow this up with Stealth. He would direct the worst Mummy movie. He would direct the worst Alex Cross movie. He would direct a terrible erotic thriller with Jennifer Lopez in it. He would direct a terrible Twister knockoff. I mean, his career just fell off big time after Fast and Furious and this movie. Even though this film did make a ton of money at the box office, it was a big hit, and you know, they could have made sequels, but then Vin Diesel decided, I'm too good for sequels, so I want to go do something else. And they followed it up with a Triple X movie that was unfortunately not as good as it somehow got even worse, even though it has a better actor involved in it with Ice Cube. Yeah, this was, like I said, this film was a success at the box office. People were sucked in, and really, like, I didn't really see the appeal of it, honestly. I tried to when I first watched it for the first time, I was just kind of like, this is fine, I guess, but you know what? I'd rather just watch a James Bond movie, because I know what I'm getting from a James Bond movie. Even the corny stuff in a James Bond movie can still be entertaining. Even, I would rather watch Die Another Day than Triple X again. And Die Another Day is probably one of the worst James Bond movies ever. Like I said, we'll get to that one in a couple months from now. But yeah, Triple X it just didn't work for me. And, you know, Vin Diesel kind of killed the franchise that he could have had here by saying, no, I'm not going to do this, and then saying, okay, I'll come back to it, because clearly I can't do anything else without putting my name on on one of the franchises I'm involved in again. And even that time it didn't work with the third film in this series. So that is Triple X. So let's go ahead and move on to a movie that knows it's stupid, but somehow it works. It's the sequel to last year's Spy Kids, and that is Spy Kids 2, The Island of Lost Dreams.
Let's go. You can take a ride on the wild side. Spy Kids 2.
Maybe it's friendly. Maybe it's not.
Now playing.
So you didn't need a Triple X to become the next James Bond franchise. You already had the next James Bond style franchise, and it was made for kids, and it was Spy Kids 2, The Island of Lost Dreams. I mean, the first Spy Kids movie was a surprisingly effective and fun movie for kids, and that there's also stuff in there that the adults can actually really like in it as well. And the second film definitely delivers a lot more of that, and then some. So in this one, you've got the return of Carmen and Junie Cortez, who have now joined the family spy business as Level 2 OSS agents. Their new mission is to save the world from a mad scientist living on a volcanic island populated by an imaginative menagerie of creatures. And on this bizarre island, none of the Cortez's gadgets work, and they must rely on their wits and each other to survive and save the day. And just a phenomenal cast once again. A lot of the same actors from the first movie are back in this one, you know. Antonio Banderas, Carla Gugino, of course Alexa Vega and Daryl Sabara, Mike Judge from the last movie's back. They bring in Ricardo Montalban and Holland Taylor to play the grandparents. They have Christopher McDonald as the President of the United States in here. Danny Trejo as Machete, which I always find that kind of amusing, that before he became Machete in the Grindhouse movies, Danny Trejo was the Machete in these movies. But you also have Alan Cumming, Tony Shalhoub. Just a good cast overall in this movie, and the film just works because it knows exactly what it's doing, and it's paying a nice homage to Ray Harryhausen movies too. Like the creatures in here clearly are stuff that could have easily been taken from the inspiration could have been taken from the Ray Harryhausen movies like Clash of the Titans, and you know, just those famous movies where you see the actor facing off against the skeletons and all that. And it's really fun to see that in a modern movie like this. It's very well done. You do like these characters a lot, and you do want to see them go on these adventures together and see how crazy the adventures are going to get here. And like I said, they're doing more creative stuff in this movie than they were doing in Triple X. Like, this movie and this series was clearly trying to be a new form of a James Bond franchise more than what Triple X was marketing itself as. I mean, you had to choose between Triple X and also Spy Kids. Like, Spy Kids is going to win easily, at least with the first two movies. After that, it kind of goes downhill from there, but we'll learn more about that when we get to the third Spy Kids movie coming up in the following summer. But Spy Kids 2 and The Island of Lost Dreams is a lot of fun. I do recommend it. I think it is a very fun film. If you like the first one, you're definitely going to love the second one for sure. So with that said, let's move on to our next movie, and that's Clint Eastwood's latest film, Bloodwork. Definitely not one of Clint Eastwood's stronger movies. In this film, you have him as a retired FBI profiler who's still recovering from a heart transplant. He returns to service when his own blood analysis offers clues to the identity of a serial killer. This is based off of a book by Michael Connolly, and it's got talent on board here. Clint Eastwood directed it, of course. Brian Helgeland is also the screenwriter. He wrote LA Confidential. But this was kind of the film, I think, that came before the Clint Eastwood turnaround, because following this, he would do Mystic River and then followed up with $1 Million Baby, both of which were Oscar winners. But this movie in particular, it's just kind of a generic movie. I mean, Clint Eastwood can usually make this movie work on his own merits, but the film itself, it's just a really lackluster mystery that doesn't really have the things that you need to have in here to keep you invested in what's going on here and trying to figure out which direction it's going to go here. And I think that's the biggest flaw with the movie, is that once you figure it out, you can kind of figure out what the big twist is going to be right from the get-go. And once you figure that out, it's just kind of like, why am I watching this movie? Because eventually it's just going to pad it out until it gets to that point where it's just like, okay, here's what really happened. And it's just like, yeah, that really did not work as well as I think you wanted it to work. And yeah, it's just not one of Clint Eastwood's better movies. It's not a bad movie per se, but it certainly is. There certainly are a lot better Eastwood films you could be watching besides this one. No question about it. So, not much more to say about that one. So that's Bloodwork. So let's go ahead and move on to our last movie, and that is Jennifer Aniston in The Good Girl.
Jennifer Aniston scores a bullseye.
What's your reading?
Catcher in the Rye. I'm named after it.
What's your name? Catcher?
In one of the best films of the
You
year.
ever been to a Bible study? about loving Jesus.
Yeah, I kind of like my nights to myself.
Well, maybe you'll have night after night of eternal hellfire all to yourself.
Don't miss this comedy of winning delicacy and heart.
I like having a seat.
So in The Good Girl, Jennifer Aniston plays a young married woman whose mundane life takes a turn for the worse when she strikes up a passionate and illicit affair with an oddball discount store stock boy who thinks he's Holden Caulfield, played by Jake Gyllenhaal. This is directed by Miguel Artera, who would later go on to direct Youth and Revolt, Cedar Rapids, and written by Mike White, who of course is now well known for writing stuff like The White Lotus, as well as the most recent Illumination animated film Migration. And in addition to Jennifer Aniston and Jake Gyllenhaal, you have John C. Reilly, Tim Blake Nelson, Zooey Deschanel, and Mike White in here as well as a star. But the film is really, really good, and it works mostly because of Jennifer Aniston going against type. I mean, yeah, we've seen her in comedies before, but this was a performance that was very much against her playing the character of Rachel on Friends, and like the romantic comedy lead that they were trying to set her up to be. But it's very different from what we're used to seeing her in, and it works very well for her. I think she does a very good job of handling this material very well here. You do buy into the relationship she has in the movie, and all the performances here are great. Jake Gyllenhaal's very good, John C. Reilly's really good, Tim Blake Nelson is great. And there's a lot of great elements to the film overall. I think it's a very well-made film. Definitely shows you a lot of different things about, the actors involved in here, showing their abilities and what they could do. And it's just a good movie, man. It's both very funny, it can be very serious. It knows exactly the balance that it wants to take into consideration, and it just works really well. I kind of wish Jennifer Aniston went back and did a little bit more of these type of movies, which, I mean, she might still be doing now. I don't know. I haven't really seen much of her doing a lot of these bigger movies nowadays, but compared to what she did once she left Friends, once Friends ended, not left Friends, but you get the idea of what I'm trying to say here. But yeah, this is a really good movie. The Good Girl. Definitely check it out if you haven't seen it. And so with that said, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies. We'll be at the middle of August 2002 on the next episode with 3 movies, including Michelle Rodriguez and Kate Bosworth in the surfing film Blue Crush, the infamous Eddie Murphy flop, The Adventures of Pluto Nash, and also Gwyneth Paltrow in Possession. So 3 films we'll take a look at next time, but until then, thank you so much for watching, and if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the playlist on the next page, check out the previous episode, and also don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button if you want to see more videos like this on this channel. So, with that said, I am off. I will see you guys next time, and until then, as always, take care.